Welcome to Come Well to Amias as I am, as you are. Visit asyouare.com today and purchase your products, book our services and consultations, and enroll in the classes and courses. Visit asyouare.com today. Now, without further ado, let's begin today's show. Yes, welcome back to Amias as I am, as you are. Today will be the part two to the part one video of the divine powers of imagination and playtime. If you haven't seen part one yet, go to the video before this one, go to part one, watch part one, then come back to this video, which is part two of the divine powers of imagination and playtime. Right? So this is part two. We're going to continue the doorways. There's only a few more left. I didn't get to finish it yesterday. I did a few consultations and so on and so forth. Time caught up and took care of a few different things. But let's get back onto the subject and the topic which I was touching upon yesterday. The divine powers of imagination and playtime, part two. The following doorway is Amias. Why do we come back as babies? Why do we come back as babies? We always come back as babies as a constant spiritual reminder of what we were, what we are, and what we always will be. In the eye of the Divine Mother. And to never veer too far from that realization, from that reality, from that understanding, that behavior, and that activity, no matter how old we get. Because that's how we will always internally function, regardless of our everyday adult situations. We arrive as a baby. All of us, we all arrive here as a baby. Therefore, we leave as a baby. This is what is called the triangular science, or the triangle science, which means to rise, reach a middle peak, and then drop and return. This is the triangle effect. Also, why the pyramids and certain other structures at Teotihuacan and different pyramidal structures from across the water to over here in the Americas were built and constructed based upon one of these, or this is one of the principles that this was really based upon. And it's not just pyramids over there in Africa and certain places. We have the most pyramids actually right here in America, A.A.A.Y.A. We arrive as a baby, therefore we leave as a baby. The Alpha is the Omega is the Alpha. The beginning is the ending, and the ending is the beginning. The Oros Boros. So however we arrive is however we leave, or however we depart. It's the same way. This is why you see people get older. When you talk about senior citizens and people of older age, they go back into a baby form. We arrive as baby form, we reach a peak, and then we drop back down into baby form, back into the mother's womb. And the triangle is also known upside down as the womb or the vagina. So this triangular effect in life can also be seen, flip it upside down, it's a womb. This can be seen in many different ways, depending upon where your understanding is at, the degree of your gnosis, that can extend and further grow this kind of conversation and this kind of understanding. But everything and anything is always based upon principles, okay? And the triangle as well can also be seen as the tip of the penis, turn it upside down, or the penis rising, turn it upside down as the vagina. This is the inverted triangle, or what you may know as the Star of David. Some of you religious people, or people in religions out there, certain places. But this is nothing but the triune of life, or the triune of experience. We arrive as a baby, therefore we leave as a baby. We depart as a baby. The baby form is a constant reminder that you're coming out of a womb and always have the opportunity to give birth to a new you. That's also why we come back as babies, to remind. It's like a self-reminder. We come as a new us to know that we always have access to a newer us, or to a more present moment us, after we come into the knowledge of self, into the gnosis. We always have that opportunity to return back to that state, to that vibration, to that frequency, mentally, then spiritually, then last bodily, or mentally, energetically, spiritually, bodily. It's a constant reminder that you're coming out of a womb and always have the opportunity to give birth to a new you through the principles of unlearn and relearn, or collect and gather. A baby's form is also a vibration form that you always have access to return back to, if you attain the hidden gnosis on how to do so at will. How to do so at will. This is the vibration form of a baby. These are constant reminders of why we come back as babies, or these things called babas. This is why we come back. And it's always a soul. Like I said before in part 1, Baba, baby is Baba, Baba, soul, soul. Or Baba is also Babati, which is soul ruler, ruler of the solar. So you're a ruler. You make up the rules according to universal law. By universal law, you are the divine order within universal law that creates its own rules as the solar ruler itself, known as the baby. And we're always a baby. It doesn't matter what you do. As a matter of fact, how we sleep, and I brought this up in like an older video before, how you sleep on your bed. You have 2 pillows on your bed. You have a sheet and a cover. The sheet and the cover is symbolic of something in front of the mother's, underneath the mother's stomach skin, called the omentum. So you pull this sheet or this pillow or this sheet and covers over you, because that's known as the omentum. It's a skin in between the external skin of the stomach and the internal, called the omentum. This is where you get the word, or the movie, The Omen. And that's where you get the childbirth, or this 666 child, which is nothing but the carbon child, 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons, which is the carbonated being, which is the melanated one, the dark one, the hidden science, the alchemical one, the alchemist, you, me, us. The Omen. It was always started, though it's a horror movie back in the day, they made remakes of it in the 2000s, but it's always about this child that comes back, that has a 666 imprinted on him in his skin. The baby, the omen, under the omentum within the mother. So going back to the example of the bed pillow, the bed pillows are symbolic of the mother's breast. The mattress is symbolic of the placenta that the baby lays on or surrounded within. And the bed sheet and the covers you pull over you is symbolic of the omentum. So no matter what you do, even when you wash up and you wake up, or you wake up and you wash your face and you through water and you go like this in the mirror, doing this is symbolic of the opening of the womb and you coming through the womb. That's why we do this when we wash our face. It's a constant reminder that we always have access to come out of another womb. But that next womb that you come out of is the womb of the mind. The hidden gnosis that gives birth to a new you, the new Heru, the new Horus. The Oset and Osar is the left and the right hemisphere. The Isis and Osiris is the left and the right hemisphere of the brain. From that, the Heru, the pineal gland, out of the conarium or the corpus calostrum, the middle one that walks the middle path, the shaman, the new enlightenment comes forth. The realization of the one as really the zero. But this is the new you. You give birth to the new Heru. You do. The new Horus. The new Eros. So there's many other different names. But we're so, Egyptian related. I keep it according to Egyptian names or certain things like that. But there's a lot of different names. Olmeccan names, babies terminology, Asiatic terminology, Indian or Mahabharat terminology for the word baby. But I'm keeping it on some that we can actually relate on in this moment according to the knowledge that we mostly come across. That's more popular coming across. Even though we should be studying this side underneath our feet more than we studying what's across the street. Because we popped up here. You were born here on the American soil or the Amarakan soil. You need to understand what this is about, not what's over there. You got to understand what's underneath your feet before you go studying what's across the street. Going back to the point. So you get sign after sign after sign after sign all the time. But the whole point is, do you realize it or are you recognizing it? Because if you don't realize it or recognize it, again, the sign doesn't mean a damn thing. When the soul is constantly telling you, do you know who you are? Because once you know who you are, you see me. And I know you, and then when you begin to know me, game over. The jig is up. Next doorway. Amias, can we manifest or play with manifestation within that baby state? If I go back to that baby state, can I manifest in that baby state? Does manifestation work in that baby state? I want you to check out, before I go into I want you to check out an episode, the Twilight Zone episode called, it's called Caliban's Toys. Caliban's Toys with a C. Caliban's Toys. Check out that episode when you get a chance. There was a whole manifestation aspect and how quickly things can appear. Literally. The Twilight Zone was created by somebody named Rod Serling. Rod Serling was a deep occultist, and he knew things that I share with you. He knew our science at a time where we was kind of alienated from our own science. They studied this around the clock, and this is why he made so many episodes and twisted your mind and changed your perception and shifted your reality. This is the science that I'm about, what my channel is about. Okay? So Amias, can we manifest in that baby state? In a way of understanding, the baby state is actually the manifesto itself. The baby state, the state of baby, is actually the manifesto itself. The baby state can also be understood as the offspring or offshoot of the union or marriage of the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. What I just told you about Osset and Osar, Osiris, Isis. It's the marriage of these two, the pious, as well as the pineal gland, the pituitary gland. So Osset and Osar is also symbolic of the pineal and the pituitary gland that secretes a certain liquid. That secretion is the third, or the child. The third eye is actually the first eye, and the first eye is the only eye. The child, the baby, the infant, the infinite one, you. So it's also symbolic of the baby state can also be understood as the offspring or offshoot of the union, meaning the marriage of the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, merging together to produce the final result. The final result being the state of the Heru, her you, her version of you, the divine mother's version of you. That's what Heru is. Heru is her you, her version of you. Okay, so this is the state of Horus, which is also known as the pinealian state within the conarium. The pinealian state within the conarium. So, in other words, It is the manifesto itself that brings about the manifested. So the baby state, the baby is the manifesto itself, bringing about its own desired manifested state. So yes, the baby state can manifest because it is the manifesto embodiment. So being the manifesto embodiment, it always has access to manifest something else. When being in that state, which is also known as I mentioned before in part 1, the delta state and the theta state. Mostly the theta state, because the theta state, Theta, is the state of deep relaxation and creativity. And creativity resides deeply within the womb of imagination. When that baby graduates into a child, the child uses its imagination, because during the baby, you're doing nothing but playtime. You're just playing. You're in play mode. A baby doesn't use their imagination. When the baby graduates into a child, it then begins to utilize its device of imagination. That's the creative mode. Nobody could tell you that your He-Man toys or your G.I. Joes or your Ninja Turtles wasn't talking back to you, and you weren't talking back to them. The Ghostbuster toys, everything and anything was actually a very real reality. It was real. It wasn't fake. It was real. And it was happening to you and through you. That is the result. That is the effect. That is the success. Whatever happens to you and through you is the real. What you feel is what is real. And that is an inner vibration or inner vibration that sends a signal out to create an outer frequency that you call your home or your car or your generational wealth. But first you have to feel it real into existence, like a child. We forgot how to be children. We fell too deep into the other states, which is beta and gamma. Beta being alertness and I think activity or high activity, something like that. And then gamma being high cognitive activity, attention, and problem solving. This is when we fall into concern, worry, and stress. We get deeper and deeper and deeper, which is actually the 3 lowest sekira or the 3 lowest chakra: concern, worry, and stress. But we rose up from here. We're supposed to hit the heart, hit the mind, hit the crown. But when we hit the heart, for some reason, people get sad, depressed, and it goes back downward to concern, worry, and stress. This is why most people have an illness or an ailment or an imbalance or an unease in this area of their body. It's not by mistake. It's not by coincidence. It's not by an accident. It's right on point according to universal law and divine order. Know your gnosis, knowledge of self, know thyself. So in other words, the baby state is the manifesto itself that brings about its own manifested desire. The baby state or baby realization is a shifting of perception. And the very moment your perception begins to shift, your reality begins to change. Instantly, immediately, automatically, right now. The very moment your perception begins to shift, your reality immediately begins to change. So if your reality is shifting right now in this moment, if your perception begins to shift right now in this moment, your reality begins to change in this very same moment. Literally. Because in that reality, there is no such thing as time. Everything is in the moment. Everything is right now. The baby state or baby realization is a shifting of perception, and the very moment your perception begins to shift, your reality begins to change. Utilizing your divine cosmic tools of imagination and play, utilizing your divine tools of imagination and play, the alpha state, the delta state and the theta state, the brain wave, the brain band, breaks down the present illusion of structure and solidity and turns it into a wet clay-like form or like texture that's ready to be molded immediately by the mind's intent, focus, and direction. Like I told you before, subconscious, subatomic. Everything has atoms, everything has a subatomic underlying or underlining. The conscious, the subconscious is the underlining intelligence. Atomic, subatomic, underlining intelligence. It's directly connected through the laws of correspondence and coherence. But you have to be of a very loose, flexible, versatile, gossamic, transparent, see-through like nature of being to make contact and command things to work for you rather than against you. This is why the divine mother, the divine goddess, your heart has to be open and you have to begin to shoot upward, not start to anchor downward, where you just came from. But you're going downward, not back in the child, baby, and infant state. You're going back with adult weight, adult heaviness, adult stress. It's being asked backwards. It doesn't make any sense. It's oxymoronic in its very nature. Off kilter, causing schisms and glitches within your own system. That is not wise to do so according to this path. Amias, next doorway. Amias, how do I return back to my innocence? How does one return back to their innocence? How do I return back to my innocence? Sometimes, when returning back to the plane of realization of your innocence, this is something just to be mindful of, not to go crazy or be an addict about. But when returning back to your innocence, be mindful of what you eat, how much you eat, and when you eat. For what reason? Because that may affect your haven body and postpone your divine float or hierarchical drift by anchoring you to the depths of the temporal dimension, the bellow, below, bellow, bellow, below, which is the temporal dimension or the dimension of the temporary. You're trying to get to the realm of the permanent. You're trying to become a permanerian rather than a temporarian. Also be aware of how much one may be sexually involved, and when, if they are sexually involved, which head is navigating the urges and direction of the mind. There's nothing wrong or right with being sexually involved, but which head is navigating the sexual involvement? Because if this head is navigating the sexual involvement, then you are utilizing your kundalini force, your fire force, your serpentine fire. You're working on holding your seed rather than letting it go all the time. There's going to be times where we're going to let go. There's going to be times where we're going to hold on. This is for men. If you do let go, make sure you're letting go with an intent, a certain kind of intent, a specific intent beneficial to your spiritual growth or your knowledge or your gnosis or your wisdom. You can actually literally make things happen on the external by holding a certain intent in your mind when you let go. So if you let go, do it spiritually. Okay? Which head, I mean, this head or this head. Men know what I'm talking about. Which head are you doing the sexual involvement with? There's a certain time that this head's going to get away with certain things. And it is what it is. It's fine. You can always, this is a constant manufacturing, semen producing system, machinery, the body, the testicles, the brain plasm, cerebral spinal fluid. It's constantly making sperm all the damn time. So you don't waste it, you don't lose it. But how are you using it is the whole point. So the temporal dimension by eating, when you eat, how you eat, what you eat. These last two bottom pits of your being, or last two bottom anchors or abyssians of your being, the abyss, the ab and the abyss, can interrupt, has the possibility to interrupt the coherence connection within, causing a schism or disconnection with the correspondence without. Coherence, they say, well, the brain and the heart has to be one for you to be fully balanced. I say yeah, but I also say no. Or I may say yeah, but you're missing a piece. What piece are we missing? It is about the brain and the heart, the mind and the heart. These two have to be connected, laws of coherence, in order for correspondence to project. Yeah, that's true, kind of, but you're missing a third piece. Remember, everything's about the triangle, the triune. There's one piece, two piece, and there's a third piece. What's that third piece? That third piece is your intestines or your stomach. This is also a part of coherence. These are the 3 points of coherence. It's not just the heart and the brain, or the heart and the mind. It's the heart, the mind, and the intestine. Because you can be on frequency and on point with your heart and your brain. They can be on point in coherence with each other. But if you got to use the bathroom, you got diarrhea. You see what I'm saying? You got irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, or food stuck in your intestine, or a stomach ache. You see what I'm saying? You got to use the bathroom. You got to urinate. This will be an interruption to these two. If this is an interruption towards these two can't fully connect and have the full, clear coherence with each other. So coherence, coherence, and coherence. Coherence, coherence, coherence. This creates the triangular effect that this becomes the full, coherent connection that projects the correspondent reality. This is going to be in my book. For those of you who are interested in the book, it's coming out very soon. It's going to be to a selected few, definitely to my people who subscribe in the classes, and the people who did the consultations get discounts and sales off of that. Contact me by email. Let me know if you are interested, because we make things happen. I remind gods. I don't teach students. I remind gods of what they already know. Coherence is 3 parts: mind, heart, and intestines. Sometime the fourth may be the sexual organ, depending upon how you're utilizing it and using it. It may be. If these parts aren't in perfect alignment with each other, the innocence, your innocence is postponed. The baby's innocence. So 1, 2, 3 for sure, absolutely. Maybe sometimes it may be a fourth, depending upon how you're utilizing your sexual organ. And it's called an organ for a reason, because these organize you mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, energetically, and psychologically. And that's pretty much what it's going to be at the moment. These are certain solutions you can do at certain times to begin to remind your baby's innocence, or begin to activate that innocence once again inside of you. These are certain things to keep in mind. Get your, purchase your old, find out where they're at, purchase your old toys, comic books, board games, video games, and cards, including cereals and candies that you used to eat, that you used to have and love when you were a child. Begin to get these toys and these figurines and these ornaments, even if you don't eat the cereal or the candy, because I have candies and certain things on my altars that I used to love as a child, but I'm not eating them. They're going to stay right there on one of my altars. They're going to stay right there. But it's a constant reminder of the child innocence that is within me, that I always have access to at will with the power of my mind and my focus and my intention. Okay? So get old toys, your old comic books, your old games and board games and video games you used to love. Even if you don't play with them, you can play with them if you want to. It's up to you. Who cares? Nobody's looking at you. Nobody's going to know. But you don't have to eat the candies and the cereals or old cereals, certain things you eat. You don't have to play with the toys, but just looking at it, symbologically, you create a symbiosis reality with them. Look up the word symbiosis. I know a lot of y'all are like, what does symbiosis mean? Look it up. You begin to live in each other's reality. It begins to live in your reality once again, and you begin to bring your mind back to that reality, and you become one union of intelligence. And you exist as that. Another thing to also keep in mind is practice grabbing things and holding things with both hands. Somebody passes you something, a cup, grab the cup with both hands. Somebody passes you a bowl, grab the bowl with both hands. With both hands like you did when you were a baby. For what reason, Amias? Well, to begin balancing out your giving and receiving mode. Or your giving and receiving powers, which are your electromagnetic energies. Which basically means to enhance your neutral state of beingness, your state of innocence. Cease accepting things from one person's hands directly to your hands. Tell them to place the object down and you'll grab it from there. One hand, like I was just reminding somebody as well, that the right hand is to project energy out. This projects energy outward. The left hand is to pull the energy inward. Right brain, or this is actually the left brain with the right hand and the right brain with the left hand. The feminine hand, which is the left hand, the masculine hand, which is the right hand. So you're balancing out a giving and a receiving by touching things with both hands. And you're coming back to a neutral state, reminding yourself of your innocence when you were as a baby. So these are certain things to begin to practice psychologically, subconsciously, to begin to bring your state and your vibration and your frequency back to that state of pure innocence. To remind the Baba in you, to wake up and activate the soul within you, to wake up the eternal sleeping giant. Remember, this is not life that we're living. This is not life. This is chance. And within this chance, you exist as choice. This is not life. This is chance. You have a chance right now. And within this chance, you live as a choice. Choose wisely. Amias as you are. See you guys in the next video, next time. Don't forget to visit asyouare.com. Appreciate y'all for supporting me. And this is how I support in return. There's a lot of events coming up, a lot of books coming out pretty soon, and a lot of other things. This is growing and growing and growing. I appreciate y'all being a part of this ride. I'm going to have more lives. I know some of y'all hit the email. I want to conversate, I want to talk, I want to kind of, interact with you, communicate with you. That's what the consultations are for. But I also will have lives as well to answer a few of y'all questions and to build as the community that we are, as communal people and tribal people, spiritual people that we are, that we inherited and need to begin to put in motion. As you are.